Okay, this is question number 2. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can look at the diagram in your guide. Carmen is moving in a train. Relative to the train, she's moving at 2 meters per second to the right. The train itself, relative to the ground, is moving at 20 meters per second to the left. And Juan here is just standing in the ground. So let's see what we are given. We have the velocity of Carmen relative to the train, that is 2 meters per second. Now we have also the velocity of the train relative to the ground, which is minus 20 meters per second, minus because the train is moving to the left. What we have to know is the velocity of Carmen relative to Juan. So we have to find V, C, and because Juan is in the ground, the velocity relative to Juan or relative to the ground will be the same. So we need to find the velocity of Carmen relative to the ground. Now, we have to identify what we called the common reference in the equation. So we see that G, ground, is the second letter that appears in the velocities. So that will tell you that in the equation, the general equation we have is VAB equals VA reference minus VB reference. The reference in this case will be the ground. So if I look at this information, I can see that I can arrange these three velocities with this equation like this. V, velocity of Carmen relative to train, equals velocity of Carmen relative to ground minus velocity of train relative to ground. And as you can see, I have included velocity of Carmen relative to the train, velocity of Carmen relative to the ground, and velocity of the train relative to the ground. And they have the same structure that the general equation has, because you can see AB here, then first AR and then BR. In the same way, we have CT, and first we have C with G, which is the common reference, and then VT here with G, which is the common reference. So now we just have to take this equation and put in the numbers that were given. So VCT, velocity of Carmen relative to the train, is 2. That equals VCG, that's the one we need to find, minus, that minus is from the equation, and then the velocity of the train relative to the ground, which is minus 20 itself. So we have the equation again, and this minus minus obviously becomes plus, so we get 20 here, and then we take this 20 to the other side, minus 2 minus 20 equals VCG, and what we have is minus 18 meters per second is the velocity of Carmen relative to the ground, which is option B in the multiple choice selection.